Yeah. Well, and one thing I want to talk about in there is kind of a small microcosm of the referee community. You talked about those that are more senior level that are a part of the community. You have a whole chapter 6, that's talking about dealing with older referees. And so I'm going to ask are we trending in the right way as far as how older referees are seeing their involvement in the referee community? And you highlighted some of those issues. So I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah, so I think that's probably a challenge.
Yeah.
So a lot of older referees are there, because they like refereeing and they need the extra money, and they're not quite to the part where, and I can have a significant influence on this teenager in a very positive way. You kind of have to be into what we're talking about here. So I have a reminder in the book, both to that older referee, but also to the teenager. Like if you're on a game and the referee is not going through a full pregame, like even when I work, I know you do too. Like when you work with referees that you've already worked with a lot, you're still going through a pregame. And I say, you don't want your pilot in your airplane to turn to the co-pilot and go, don't screw it up. Like just do the usual stuff. Like that's not what we want when we're flying. So the young referee should insist, and there's advice for some parents, like make sure that if your kiddo is in a game with an adult referee, that referee is taking the time to go down the checklist.
Yeah.
What's your learning? What's your experience level? What's your comfort level? How many games have you done? Great. Here's what I need you to do. Here's how you can help me. Here's how I can help you. Here's how we can help each other, having those conversations. So I give the young referee some trigger language, or to start a conversation, like, hey, what do you want me to do right? Yes. And don't let if the older referee is ignoring you and he or she doesn't want to go down a checklist, you just got to talk to your assigner later. Like, I'm never working with Gordy again because he wasn't really helpful to me.
Right.
And so again, I'm not involved in that many games where there's another older referee and a young referee, and I'm like the third. I'm the assistant referee. So I don't see that a lot. I know that a lot of the guys and gals that I hang out with who are closer to my age cohort, yes, absolutely. They're asking the right questions of the young referee. Again, what is your experience and comfort level? Here's what I need you to do. Here's how I will have your back 100% in the game. If anybody says or does something that I don't hear, and I have rabbit ears, like I'm listening for this, I am going to, you're on my team first. We may have some coaching to do after the game, but in the game, you're on my team and I'm going to take care of that problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I think that that's where this book is helpful for those. I mean, if you might see the title, well, I'm not a teenage referee. But you even mentioned, I think which chapter you titled it, a former teenage referee, or maybe that was the introduction. Anyway,
me, a former teenage referee.
You go for, yeah, right. We've all been there. And then I think, and it gives us tools. Those of us that are further along the journey, it gives us tools to remember back and be able to be supportive in those moments and to remember how important. I mean, I think back to this past spring where I worked a game with a couple of younger referees, and after the game, I said, "Hey guys, what did I screw up?" And they looked at me like I had four eyes, No, we're all in this together. We need to learn. We need to, and I think you talk about this too. Those of us that are senior level officials, we can't just go, well, I just have thick skin for dissent and for issues. That's not setting anyone up for success. And you talk about that. And I love that you address that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So the point we made there was, okay, well, I have thick skin, so I'm not going to take care of this coach problem. But then next week, there's a 16-year-old who's going to have that coach, right? And the coach got away with it the week before. And so we're not helping to solve the problem. And so, if a coach says something to me like, you have to have thicker skin or whatever, it's like, no, that's the same standard for everybody. And I have a role, you have a role. And I've got a bunch of one-liners, I use, but always try, I'm the smiley, open palm face guy. Like, come on, this is like you said, a U14 third division game. It's important. Like it is for me, that's like MLS. That's my game of the week, right? But it is youth sports, and all of the adults, spectator, coach, and match officials who are adults in the game, I think we have a responsibility so that the kiddo wants to play soccer again. Like it can't be a miserable experience. whether it's soccer or baseball, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you finish the book talking about probably the more ones that I think cause people the most angst when they're getting into officiating is, how am I going to deal with, you talk about dealing with players. I don't want to brush over that too quickly, because the breakdown, and I think this is really worth it too, the breakdown of what do I expect at the different levels I'm working and how that shifts, right? And I always tell referees, you're going to figure out your rules knowledge at the youngest ages, because that's where the weirdest stuff happens. You never knew that somebody could kick a ball there and do that, and the other person does this, and you're like, so you get and then the game management starts to develop as you get older. So you talk through that, which is really good. But you get towards the end, chapters 7 and 8, talking about coaches and parents and spectators.